Hello, beautiful people. It is me, Tasha K with Gotta Stay, and I am so excited to be welcoming you into the month of April. I don't know if you know, but April is Financial Literacy Month. So I have a ton of experts lined up so that we can have some very fun and profitable conversations about money. But at the beginning of the month, I always like to take a second to regroup and to breathe. So I want you to let go of anything that you may have wanted to happen last month, but it didn't happen. Let go, mourn it, and there's still possibility for that to show up in your future. If there are things that you accomplished last month, like waking up every day, showing up for yourself, I want you to acknowledge that. Don't belittle it, don't make it a small thing. Whatever it is that you accomplished last month, the month of March, acknowledge it and celebrate it. And then I want you to embrace every possibility that the month of April has to hold and set an intention. Intention setting is so important for our focus and for our energy because otherwise we'll just be out there in the wind, at the effects of our emotions. But when you're intentional, you really get to be in charge of creating the life that you want. So, welcome into April, and I'm excited for Financial Literacy Month. And I want to take a second to welcome our guest today, Uchechi. Thank you so much for being with us. Uchechi is a business strategist, speaker, and author, and she helps multi passionate entrepreneurs build their dream businesses. So I am so excited to have you with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, and it also, while we're in a conversation about income, so we're going to be talking about additional income sources and side hustles. And while we are in that conversation, I am so present to how many people are talking to me these days about additional streams of income. People are no longer satisfied with their 9 to 5 job. They're no longer satisfied with just having one stream of income. And not only are they not satisfied, but it's just not enough these days. And so I'm very hyper aware of that. So, for me, that is in the background of this conversation. And for those of you who want to break that cycle, make sure that you are looking out for our Wealth from Scratch program, where we're helping people who make under $60,000 break the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. So, if you want some support in taking control of your finances so that you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck, our Wealth from Scratch program might be for you. And so, Uchechi, I want to just jump right into um, the conversation and talking about multiple streams of income. Why do you think that this is important?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think for me, actually, why is it important? Let's go back to 2020, right? I know for me, there's so many reasons why, I don't like putting all my eggs in one basket. It allows me to diversify. It allows me when some area of my business, or even if, let's say you get laid off, at least you have something coming in. For me, 2020, a lot of people were hit. I have several multiple income streams. I'm a mentor and coach myself. I have online training programs. I have my planners. I have membership program. One area that was when it was went down a little bit, I was still able to keep going. Money was coming in because I didn't have one source. And so a lot of people, like, where you can even have emergency income. Like, there's certain areas of my certain sources of my income that I don't even touch. It just goes in, these are affiliates, it's just collects, right? And I don't touch that. And that for me is building emergency reserve for my business. And so certain areas I'm going to use for my everyday. A lot of people don't have that. There's no reserve. And even if it's something that, there's so many things you can do where you can start small, and it might not be huge, but at least it's collecting for you. It is working for you. So that way, as you have, whether it's your 9 to 5 or whether it's your business that's sustaining you, you have something collecting. And at the end of the day, you can choose to invest it. You can choose to, do other things with it. But multiple sources has been a foundation for me, because that is how I've gone full time in my business. It's not just my coaching. It's not just my planner. It's not just my membership. It's not just my online training, but it's all of them that's allowed me to start to create the wealth that I've always envisioned for myself. So it's been critical for me. It's
I love that you said that it has enabled you to create the wealth
mm,
you have always
mhm.
envisioned for yourself. I love that.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I'm getting from what you're saying is just don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And,
No.
a lot of people are using their main source of income as a resource to live on. So then that means that you
Yeah.
have something to be a resource for you to be putting money in reserve.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. I think that all of that is important. And one of the things I would love to know from you, you talk about how you have built this process, you built up multiple streams of income over time. It's what allowed you to have more freedom in your business, more money in your business, and do it full time. What did that process look like for you as you were transitioning from maybe somebody who worked in corporate America, maybe somebody who only had one business, and then
Mhm.
blossoming into somebody who had multiple streams of income, and then moving to someone who teaches people how to have multiple
Mhm.
streams of income? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I have there's a workshop that I have that's like multiple income streams, and I put up all my different income streams, and I always put the year, and I do that purposely because I always want to tell people crawl, walk, run. I didn't just snap my fingers and have all these things created. It took time, and I would start with one, built it up, have the proof of concept, and then has some automation and processes in place, and then I can add more. Because if not, then you're just doing too much at the same time. So it did take time. But for me, I used to work 9 to 5, right? I actually left the corporate world 2 times. The first time I had a wellness center with my sister. It was like 3,000 square feet. We had a yoga studio, therapy clinic, a spa. It was huge. But it was in 2008 when the recession of my generation has ever seen. And it's not, if you built it, they will come. I ended up having to go back to my full-time job because I had to make ends meet. And then the second time, so when I left the second time, I was more strategic. And at that time, I had met my then boyfriend, who became a husband, and then my son. And so I needed to be more strategic with it, where it's not just jumping and going. So I had my wellness center still. We were looking to sell it because we had moved to a different location, and I wanted to be more independent, especially being a first time mom. I like trading time for money was not my jam anymore. And so for me, my core desire, one of my biggest values is freedom, right? Having that time freedom. And so I thought about getting into coaching. So when I first started it, I actually created like a beta program, launched a business training program. Then from there, I started to do some of my one on one coaching. And it was through there that I've always had this, dream of writing a book. So I started to write a book. So that became one stream. I wanted to write a book. And as I was coaching a lot of clients, I recognized that a lot of them, a lot of people can invest in one-on-one coaching. So I actually created a line of planners called the Dream Life Designer Planner, which was built with entrepreneurs in mind. So then I started to create this planner because I wanted something where if somebody was self-directed or couldn't invest in one-on-one, they can work through the planner. When I first created it, I printed it like locally. I made zero money. I made zero, like the cost of printing was the cost of me selling it, just because I wanted to prove the concept. A lot of people loved it. So the next year, I went overseas, started mass producing. That has taken a life of its own. I have like loyal users since day one. And then from there, because I've automated the process, I added to my team. Then even when I started to when I wrote my book, and when I wrote my book, I got it carried in Canada. There's like it's like Barnes and Nobles, the largest bookstores was carrying it. People kept asking me. From there, I started to create workshops, how to write and publish your book, right? Because you know what, you wanted my experience, just pay $45 and you can learn it. From there, people wanted me to help them publish. That's how my publishing arms came in. So a lot of the things is where I would listen to what people were asking of me based on my experience, based on my expertise. And then I would create, I would test it small first. Like, for example, the publishing was just workshop, right? Teaching the workshop. And as people kept asking, Then I did co-authoring book projects. Then I help solo authors get published. And then I started creating a different online training program to help people with their businesses, helping people to get into stores. And so now I have all these different offerings within my brand. But again, it came with people are asking me, I paid attention. I'll create something small, test the concept, test what people are saying, get more people, set some automation in place, then go bigger with it. And then once that's there, I listen in and I'll add that in, right? So, and in saying that though, it is important where to me important where you're not doing so many things. There's been actually things in this past quarter that we cut back in our business because, other opportunities came that took less time but paid us more. So we'd cut back on different opportunities. But still, there's always different things that we're working on that's helped us to reach more people and of course, have more income in our business.
Wow. So, if you listen to the Tasha Talks Money podcast regularly, then you already have your pen and paper. If you don't, make sure you go and get your pen and paper because, as you see, there is a lot to unpack today. So, where I want to start with what you just said was that one of your most important values is freedom.
Mhm.
And I think that's
Yep.
important because when we look at our values, that is a huge part of what's going to create the context of our life and is going to create what drives us and what motivates us. So sometimes I think that we have to just be motivated to figure it out, whether we already have the answers or not. People might look
Mhm.
at you and think, well, how did you do this? But first and foremost, you were motivated to do it because you wanted freedom.
Yep.
So you have to
Mhm.
look at your own motivations and start thinking about what is it actually going to take. A lot of people value convenience and comfort more than they value freedom. People who value freedom, because that's one of my core values too, and I'm going to get up and do what it takes from a money perspective. Now,
Mhm.
I when I look at my actions in relation to my health, I don't necessarily value my when I look at my actions, I don't value my health as much as I value my wealth because I don't have that same motivation to just get up and go to the gym when I know I'm supposed to get up and go to the gym or not eat what I know I'm not supposed to be eating. And so I have to look at my health and say, okay, there's a breakdown in my value system here. Because
Mhm.
at some level, my health is important to me, but my actions are not demonstrating that. So, how do I find an alignment there? So, understanding what your motivating value actually is, not the pretty picture of what you want it to be, but what it actually is, so that you can get behind it and it can get in alignment with you so that you're taking actions that are allowing you to have financial freedom. The other thing I want to point out that you said is crawl, walk, run. I love
Mhm.
that because I feel like in today's day and age, there's so much information out there that you can get overloaded. You can want to start doing everything at one time, and then you're going to feel overwhelmed, and then you're going to get burnt out. But when you start taking things on slowly but surely, you start building the processes behind them. You get this one thing done. And from what I'm hearing, one of your superpowers to me is listening, being able to listen to what people want from you and build around that. That's not one of my superpowers. I be trying to tell people what they need. And it's like, Tasha, did they ask you for that? Did they say they needed
My
that?
husband will my husband will disagree. I'm gonna point that out.
They say how you do anything is how you do everything, but I disagree because I know for a fact I don't do everything the same way. So how you are in your business, you seem to have a special knack for, you put something out there and then you start, it's like the streets are talking. What are they saying though? What do
Mhm.
they want from me? Not like I think they need this. Because that's what happens a lot of times. We get so consumed in what we want and what we like,
Mhm.
right? So the other thing I want to make sure we that I hit this point home is that as you're starting out on this journey, because I know a lot of you might still be in a 9 to 5 role, or you might only have one source of income, and you're thinking about how do I grow and how do I expand. And I think a very key part of this is listen to
Mhm.
what people are telling you that you're good at. Listen to what people come to you for and the questions that they ask you, and listen to what they want to consume from you. Because a huge part of this is demand. And you don't want to start creating multiple streams of income that there's no demand for. Ask me how I
Yeah.
know. So I was looking on your Instagram, stalking you a little
Mhm.
bit, and I saw a lot of stuff about mindset, and I was really excited
Mhm.
about that. That felt very aligned. Like, in the first quarter of the month, in the first quarter of the year, and I'm excited that we got to talk in April because in the first quarter of the year, we were looking more at self care, self love, mindset, and stuff like that. And in this quarter, I really want to get more tactical. So I was
Mhm.
really glad to actually have you during Financial Literacy Month. But I noticed that you still focus a lot on mindset and the soft skills of entrepreneurship too. So I was
Mhm.
wondering, when it comes to building multiple streams of income, what do you think are some of the most important mindsets to have? And maybe some of the ones that tend to get in people's way the most.
Yeah, I mean, I focus a lot on mindset because I think for me, even with my clients, right? And when I work with my clients, we'll do the, strategic planning, the marketing plan. We do a whole sales target, breaking it down by month, looking at the seasonalities, understanding what do we need to do, how many people do we need to enroll to make you hit your numbers. It is very tactical, but I know that all means nothing if they're always second guessing themselves, if they're doubting themselves, if they're not stepping into the vision of that goal that we're setting for ourselves. So to me, it is the glue that holds everything together because we can, be tactical all we want. But if we're, sitting there where, okay, this is never going to work, why bother? Or, oh my God, what is somebody's going to say? I'm going to get a troll on this comment, so I'm not going to do it. You're not going to do it. So to me, this is why it's so important. And one of the foundational piece is where, if I have to say the number one thing that you need to do to be able to hit that and create all these multiple income streams is the fact that, first of all, you have to have that vision of what you want to accomplish, right? Like how that income, what does it look like? And then you have to match your identity to your vision. Because something that, I work with my mentor all the time. And, one of the things that he said that really stuck with me is our identity is our destiny. Our identity will overshadow and foreshadow our potential. So it doesn't matter what our potential is. If we don't have the identity of fill in the blank, right? And if we're stuck in that identity of I'm always hustling, I'm only stuck in 9 to 5, and I'm the kind of person who, hates their job and that's just my lot in life, you're never going to rise above. You might get some success, but it's like a thermostat where it's going to always bring you back. So the number one thing is the work in how do I match my identity, the way I see myself, to that vision that I have for myself. Because that's what's going to allow us to show up and do the thing. That's what's going to allow us to hold on to the success once we get it and not go back to our set point of what we have. So that's the biggest work. I mean, if I wish, I mean, my journal's downstairs. What I do every single day is I journal on, and I wish I had it. Um, it's downstairs with me, but it's like I'm a person who enjoys a life of great health, wealth, abundance, and prosperity. I write that down over and over again, like kind of like old school when you do lines. I write that and it covers two of my journals, and I do that daily because I am rewiring my subconscious mind to buy into the identity of who I need to be. That is the biggest work that I do. And so without that identity, you're not going to have that lasting success. Like you, again, going back to you may have it, but it'll be short term because you're going to do something that brings you back to the set point that you have.
So, well, I was looking around while you were talking because I always have like 10 notebooks around at any given time.
Mm,
And in some of those notebooks, I write lines too, because that
mm,
identity matching is so, so, so important. And one of the things that I usually talk about is financial trauma. And we all have a lot of
mm,
different things that go into having us take on the identity that we've taken on up until this point. And,
mhm,
you really do have to look at what is it going to take to do the rewiring that's going to get me in a different position to be able to have a new mindset settle. Sometimes we're trying to take on a new mindset and that mindset isn't settling because your old identity is too dominant still.
yeah.
So I love that you said that and have the vision. So first have the vision of what you want it to be, and
Mhm,
then start matching your identity onto the vision. I've heard
yeah.
that before, but I haven't really heard it in that language, and I really like the visual of it because the
Mhm,
mapping on it makes it very clear in a visual way to me, in a way that I can understand, and it feels even more actionable in terms of what
mhm,
exactly am I trying to attain here. So a lot of times I might use the word alignment right? But alignment doesn't quite give you the same
Mhm.
visuals going on as I want to match these two things. I want to
Yeah.
bring them together and integrate them and have them be in sync. So I really love that. Anything else that you want to add about mindset before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, it's just from there and then just working from that mindset, right? So working from that identity. So it's one of those things where you match it, and how do you match it? Then you start to show up and you have to, another thing my mentor says is work from your vision, not to your vision. And there's a difference because when you're working to your vision, you kind of like starting from where you're at, but all of a sudden, working from your vision, you step into that energy of that end goal, right? Then you show up more. And if somebody says something to you, whatever, right? I'm in that vision. Like it doesn't like, it's just almost like a shirt off your back. Like you don't even care because now you're stepping. And again, it's not like where you're spending like millions of dollars that you don't have because that's the vision. But no, it's about the energy, that
Mm-hmm.
consciousness of that is stepping into it. And another, one of the things I would say, like my work, I would say there's three areas of my work, or three pillars of my work. There's the strategic planning, which is the tactical piece, mindset mastery, which again is all about that mindset piece, and then it's something I call universal wisdom. And that for me is where, doesn't matter what faith you have and it doesn't matter what term you call it, but there is this source that created the entire universe. And recognizing that if you have a desire, that means that that source, has the resources to let you to make it happen. And if you tap in, so part of the, it's not necessarily mindset, but it's around with it. It's where recognizing that that source is your true source of supply. So, let's say I lose a client, that's a channel. And oftentimes in the past, I used to mistake my channel as a source. I'm like, oh my God, that's my source of income. No, 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 no. If I want unlimited channels to open up for me, I just need to connect to the true source of supply. And for me, it's the infinite source that all that is. And so if I tune into it and stay in that energy, so if I do the tactical work, do the mindset work where I can match my identity to the vision and work with universal source, all three together, gold, right? So that to me is like it's in conjunction. So I don't necessarily call it the mindset, but it kind of works together. It's kind of like
No,
the
no, no, no,
energy
no.
and the
Actually,
mindset piece.
I really like the distinction that you make
Mhm.
in having those
Yeah.
things kind of separate because, it kind of goes back to what I was trying to say when it's like your old identity is still too dominant, right? There's something that is
Hmm.
out of whack. And so when you say it that way, it's like, okay, there's a matching that's going on. And then there's like an attunement too that's going on as
Hmm.
well. And they might be going on in tandem, they might be going on separately. You might be more attuned spiritually and not really having the mindset yet in terms of how I'm thinking about it. But I really like
Absolutely.
I really like the way that you put that because I think it's often very conflated. And I actually think that I've personally been struggling with that a lot. It's like I've been working a lot on my mindset and working a lot on this attunement and having them and thinking that they're the same thing, but wondering why I'm not feeling integrated. You know,
Hmm.
I was having this conversation with my boyfriend yesterday. He was just like, Tasha, I don't want you to create another thing. You have a museum of beautiful products and you are one of the most brilliant strategists that I know, but I need you to focus on marketing and sales.
Yeah.
But the reason that I hadn't done that is part of what you were saying is like working towards the vision instead of working from the vision, because those two things
Hmm.
create a very different context, right? And
It
one of
does.
them you're going to be like striving to get to, and striving, people don't realize, is still lack. And when you're
Hmm.
striving towards something, there's a lack there, versus when you're starting from something, there's more of a sense of abundance there. There's more of a sense of peace there. It's kind of like you said, like you're really standing in your truth and it's a little bit more unshakable. So I always
Hmm.
love when I'm doing these podcasts. Like, I hope you guys are taking notes, but if nobody else is taking notes, you better believe that I am taking notes. So, you know, and I try to tell people when it comes to like what makes the difference between somebody who is successful and somebody who wants success. And one of the biggest things for me is like somebody who is successful, they listen to the wisdom, they listen to the
Mhm.
the things that people share, and they integrate the things that they feel that resonates the most with them. So when you're listening to this is not just to, have those ideas pop off. It's like really so that you can get into, what can you take action on that's going to help move you a little bit forward. So
Mhm.
with that being said, it's the perfect segue into what do you think are the most important actions to start taking?
Mhm.
So we looked at the mindset. What are the most
Mhm.
important actions after you have that mindset and you're thinking about, okay, I either have a 9 to 5 or I have one stream of
Mhm.
income. What would you say is that next step to kind of like, for people who are ready to take that step, but it's like, the step hasn't materialized yet and they don't know what to do?
Mhm.
What would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what is it that you want to do. So let's say, you're sitting there where, okay, I'm in the 9 to 5, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm ready. Like, I've got the mindset, I'm now committed and ready to go, and I'm doing all that work. Now it's not, now it's the tactical piece and recognizing, okay, you know, where we say there's that sweet spot in terms of what is it that you feel called to do, how you want to serve. So, whether it's a starting one side hustle, whatever that may be, what is that thing? But it has to be married to something your audience or potential customers or your ICA, ideal customer avatar, your, target market, what is it that they're looking for? So when you marry that together, that is the sweet spot. And it will require doing some research, right? So, I can share a little bit about some things that you can do online that you can start to do, but it's really looking at what is it that I feel like, even if I wasn't getting paid, I want to do this. And you feel like you're doing it all the time. And it's, you see somebody doing it and it interests you and you're like, oh my God, I want to start this thing. And I would say, first, recognize what that thing is, and then start to do the research in terms of, okay, who is it that I want to work with, and start looking at it. Is this the thing that they're asking for? Is this going to be a solution to a need or to a problem that they've recognized that they've had? And then when you can start to do that research, uncover it, and you marry that together, that's when you have like that little sweet spot, or you have something that you can start to work on. And of course, the next steps, obviously it's part of developing, like, the business, and there's so many different elements. But I would say this particular piece, because you don't want to just start something, you want to start something that that you're going to enjoy doing, because entrepreneurship, I mean, there's your ups and downs, right? But it's important to do something that you feel called to do, that you want to do, that feels fun to do, and then something else, but also the things people are looking for. Because if it's something that's fun to do and you're not selling it, then you really just have a hobby, right? So we need to now have something that people are willing to pay you for, and that requires doing some of that research in terms of, okay, who are these people that I would like to work with? What have they been looking for? Okay, now can I create a solution based on my strength, experiences, and what I like to do? And then you can bridge that together.
And this is my 10th year in business. And one of the things that I really had to learn how to do was stop being so self centered in my product creation. And for me,
Mm,
especially people who are know it alls, you think you know it all, you think you have the answers, you think you have the solutions. And that really slowed me down. And I still think I had the answers, but it doesn't matter if that's not what people want. So,
yep.
sometimes you have to, help lead people down the path. But first, right? The first thing that you want to do, and it's just like, it just makes sense. It's so respectful. You just want to listen to what they want. But
Mhm.
I think it's hard because we're all thinking, what's in it for me, right? But as a business
Mm,
owner, you can't just be thinking what's in it for me, because you're not the one that's giving yourself money. You want
yeah.
your customer base. So you want to be
Mhm.
listening to what's in it for them, so that when they look, it aligns with what they want and what they're willing to spend their money on. So I don't think we talk about how our own ego gets in the way
Mhm.
of, building our products and building our services. And the recognition and the research piece, recognizing what is it that you want to work on, and then doing the research. I think that recognition piece is really important because it requires you to kind of go inward a little bit and start thinking about, who am I, and how do I want
Mhm.
to show up in the world? How do I want to share myself with the world? When I'm creating my business, I think of it as me an extension of me in the world, and it's how I serve, it's how I, improve humanity. Those are things that are important to me. So I have to think about, who am I? And once you figure that out and you've decided that this is how you want to show up, well, that's when you get into the research. And I think that, you want the desire to be there, but you also want to make sure that you're positioning yourself to get the money that you deserve, right? Because otherwise, like you said, it's just a hobby.
Mhm.
So, what would you say are 5 simple, easy to get started side hustles
Mhm.
that people could take from this podcast and start researching and seeing if it's for them, and maybe get up and started in 30 to 90 days?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things they can do. Like, I'll share some of the things that some of my clients have done that I've helped them with. So, there's been, one I would say maybe looking into drop shipping, right? What I love about drop shipping is the fact that, like, so for example, one client, like, there's one person that I know, she had, it's more, it was clothing company, and it was all about things about mental health, right? That she did to create the design, worked with the manufacturer. Then it's where you don't have to, now it's not like you're using thousands of dollars. You can create it on your own website, your own branding, your own design. And when people buy it, you pay the wholesale, your supplier, makes it, ships it straight to the customer. So it's so much easier for you. My sister actually has, she's a registered massage therapist. She's an athletic therapist. So she's in that, and she has her own clinic. But then what we also created for her was a Shopify site, but using drop shipping, where there's things like bracing, just one of those things that you can use if you're injured, that you can buy off of it. And it's all drop shipping. Like, just the other day, she was like showing me like a screenshot. It was like thousands of dollars. And she's like, I didn't do anything. And these are the orders coming in. I'm like, yeah, right. So these are just and she's not carrying all these inventory. It's on her website, right? On people order it, it gets shipped, and then it's inventory. So this is something that people can look at. And what I love about it is where it could be different things. Maybe it's a t-shirt, or my sister, right? It's bracing, it's things that are already existing, right? So you can look into that where, if you go to AliExpress, like, there's companies there, of course, do your due diligence on it, but maybe that's something that you may want to do. If products aren't your thing, I mean, affiliate marketing is something that you can also get started in. So this is where, for me, it's not like a lot of dollars you make right away, but, on my, I have things where I will share things on Amazon, or I have a client who was a Reiki teacher. And so, people used to ask her all the time about, where did she get her table? Where did she get her sage? All this stuff. And I'm like, okay, wait, right now, you're going to create an Amazon account, an affiliate, and have, Michelle's recommendations, and then all that links. And when people ask you, you can show them the links, and then you're going to get paid on Amazon. I know for me, like, even different programs that I've created, different programs that I've been in, if those people, if I love it and they have affiliates, I'm joining their affiliates, because, some of those things could be like thousands of dollars, right? I get affiliates for that. So that's something you can do, where if you have social media following, or even email marketing, you can start to share things that you love anyways. These are things that you can leverage. For me, I love info products. There's, I've seen dog walkers that have their own info products, just leveraging expertise that you already have. So many of us, based on our experience, maybe based on just some kind of industry tidbits that we have, right? So as an example, for me, I have a program called Wholesale Academy. Where did that come from? My old experience being a buyer in, like, one of the largest Canadian retailers, when people used to ask, know how to get their products carried in the stores. For my categories, I said yes or no. People kept asking me about that. I packaged it into a Wholesale Academy program that walks people through how to get their products into stores, right? So things like that. And of course, there's the books, or, so you can do that piece as well. And then also too, like, maybe there's coaching, right? Like the things like we do. There's so many people, whether you're working one-on-one with clients, maybe different entrepreneurs, maybe it's an organization. Even now, I've seen a lot of different companies that are hiring breath workers to come in, because there's a lot of, like, people in companies where they're burnout, they're stressed out. So, holistic practitioners are being hired to take their people in their company, certain departments, through maybe some breath work or helping them, get more stress free. Things like that are being shared, and that's an opportunity that people, somebody could start right away, right? So there's that piece. Another area that I love, that I leverage, that I do myself, that I also help clients with, it's Amazon, right? I talked a little bit about Amazon, but Amazon is a gazillion dollar business, right? It makes about, what is it? I think it made about, I think last quarter, in like December, the last quarter of 2022, it made 88.9 billion dollars in that quarter. Did you know that 68% of those sales came from independent independent sellers? So for me, I like my planners that I make, I sell it on Amazon. So 68% of those sales comes from like small, medium-sized businesses like me that's either selling our products on Amazon or reselling certain products on Amazon. So, it's a gazillion dollar company, but we can get a piece of that pie through selling our products on Amazon, writing a book or creating a journal, and now selling it on Amazon using Amazon's KDP, right? So Kindle Direct Publishing, which is available in all Amazons worldwide. So people worldwide can order your book or manuals, which you can just go on Canva, create like a journal. I had somebody in my program, she was retired, and she was an older woman, and she was always like, I've always wanted to create journals, and like a biblical journal where, like, she wanted to have a verse, and then she'll have lines in, like, I don't even think it was like in about a month. She had one that she kind of was working on. She got it done. We leveraged, she was able to use Canva as well, and somebody that she used on Fiverr got it up, and now she's selling, and she's actually has her second biblical journal on Amazon selling it, right? So this is something that, and she was not like, she wasn't even on Facebook, she was not computer savvy at all, but she, yeah, was able to do that. And even like, yeah, so there's so many, I would say, even if looking at industry things like that, you can look at that for yourself, especially if you want to start small, where you're like, right now I need to save money, I'm working 9 to 5, I don't have a lot of investments right now. So, all these things that I talked about, there was minimal monetary investment that you can do, right? So things like that. But I think between that and like the info product, or just leveraging your knowledge, even if you start with a workshop, maybe there's something that like there's like an expertise that you have. Maybe just put the feelers out there. Do a one-time workshop, right? This is what I started with certain things. One-time workshop, and I paid attention to the feedback, what else people were saying, and from there it led to other things. So it's just a matter of just listening in, just picking the one thing that resonates with you, and doing a little bit of research on it, because you can. Like, we are living at a time where we're so lucky, because we don't need all that investment. When I do publishing, back in the day, you used to order thousands of books, keep it in your basement, and hope it sells. You upload it on Amazon, and like, it's print on demand. It's minimal cost to you. So many different opportunities that people can leverage to get started quite easily and fast.
Yeah. So basically, what I hear you saying is that there are no excuses. If you're not tech savvy, it
No.
doesn't matter. If you don't know how to do something, it doesn't matter. There are so many different. I'm sure you have programs on wholesaling. I'm sure you have a lot of different programs on how to do some of the things that we talked about today. Whether you're if you're
Hmm.
in retail, you know, drop shipping. If you no matter what you're into, even if you don't want to create a single thing, being an affiliate marketer is an
Yeah.
option. You don't have to go and create anything. You can be a curator and see, okay,
Yeah.
what do I like in the world? And I want to bring together all the things that I like and then share it with people and talk to them about it and tell them why I love it. And boom, you have a business. So
Yeah.
there's no excuse. You have so many different angles that you can approach it from. And like it's just a matter of the creativity and the willingness to, not make excuses for what's possible or what's not possible. So if somebody were having those limiting beliefs that pop up when somebody says, this is possible, and then they think, well, I don't know if I can do it. I
Mhm.
know that other people it might work for other people, but I don't know if it's going to work for me. When that comes up for people, do you have any redirects that you can offer to help them retrain that part of their brain so that they can start thinking that actually maybe this is possible for me?
Yeah, I mean, there's two things I always say when people come to me like that, and I always just say to them, what's more important? What's more important? Taking the action and actually possibly seeing the results, helping people with your gift, with what you want to do, or staying stuck or being stuck in your fear. Because we make that decision of what's more important based on the actions that we take. So if we don't take the action, that means what we're truly saying is what's more important to me right now is just remaining small and staying stuck. This is more important to me than the actual potential. And then I would always ask, you know what becomes possible? What becomes possible when we're willing to just step out and take one step? Like I said, crawl, walk, run. You don't have to build, like I said, like one of the reasons why when I do that workshop, I always put the years, because I tell people this did not happen in 1 year. Like I think when I looked at the beginning, it was probably like 5, 6 years when you look at the first one to the last one, right? It took time, and it took, there's certain things that I did and automated it. But to me, is right now, if you're sitting there, you're thinking, what becomes possible when you can actually do this, right? And so if when you hesitate, when you're not doing it, your actions are saying what's more important to me right now is my comfort level staying where I am than this growth, this opportunity that means I'm helping people, sharing my gift, right? And I'm actually this potential money that I can make, that freedom. I don't want that. That's not as important to me right now. Because if you don't keep moving forward, that's what you're saying. Like this is our actions is telling us what's more important. And so when I say that to people, for the most part, they recognize that. They're like, oh, because they don't think about it like that, to say, no, I'm not, I choose this. But then it's like, when all of a sudden, well, no, if you're not, that means you're letting this thing, that voice, win. And if you're letting it win, that's what you're choosing. That's what's more important. So it helps you to really start to take that action.
I call that the curse of the comfort zone because it feels so
Mhm.
comfortable most of the time. People don't even realize how limiting it is. They're just
Yeah.
like, I'll just stay here in this spot. And it feels like, this is what I'm used to. So I think I'm going to stay here. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's really, you can stay there, but it's going to really stunt your potential. You can be safe,
Hmm.
but you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You can be committed to feeling good, but you're not going to grow. And I love,
Yeah.
love, love like this concept of just take the one step. Just
Hmm.
take the first action. It is okay to crawl. Nobody is saying that you have to come out of the gate swinging. This,
Hmm.
um, I know that I hear it a lot. People talking about, building multiple streams of income. And sometimes I think they talked about it very flippantly, like, oh, just build multiple streams of income. And it's like, no, this is not something that typically happens overnight. This is something that requires a lot of focus, a lot of intentionality, a lot of you pouring yourself into the things that matter to you. Um, Marie Kondo's method comes to mind, spark joy, like being aware of
Hmm.
what sparks joy for you.
Hmm.
So I'm excited because I want you guys to go into the month of April empowered to do anything that you want to do, that there is nothing off limits to you, that you are not condemned to only having one income, and that creating multiple streams of income doesn't have to be a stressful and burdensome thing that shackles you even more. Like, that is not the intention, to give you more work, to make you feel more burdened, but it's to create a path to freedom like Uchechi did. So at first she may have been working her 9 to 5 and still having multiple streams of income, but over time, she's released certain things, she's streamlined certain things, she's refined and improved certain things. So the goal is like, yeah, it might get harder before it gets easier, but ultimately the goal is definitely for things to get easier. So no, I'm definitely going to run this entire thing back for myself. I don't know if y'all know, but do you ever have this problem where, like, I do not like listening to myself talk? Like, when I am doing a
Same.
podcast, I really don't want to listen to myself talk, because then I'm gonna be nitpicky about, did I say this right? Did I do that right? And all those things. But I'm gonna have to suck it up because there's so many gems in our conversation today. So I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. I know that there are so many different things that you could have been doing, but you're here sharing with my audience. And what is one final word that you would like to leave them with?
Hmm. I think I would say we're just underscoring some of the things that we've talked about before, where, just have that vision of what it is that you want, right? And one of my fundamental beliefs is if we have a desire for something, that means the resources, the ability to make it happen, it's already at hand. And if that was not the case, then that desire would not have been felt and born in you in the first place. So if you have that thing where, oh my God, I want to do this, and you get excited, like, get excited about that. That means the resources, it might be outside of your awareness at this moment, but that means it's there, right? And then just take that one step at a time. Like I do this with my clients: crawl, walk, run. We need to know what the run is, right? So what's that vision, right? Let's identify that crawl, walk, and run and make a plan towards it. But as we start to take the action, let's step into that vision of that identity, right? Let's step into that being, that energy, that consciousness. Let's work from that, because that's going to give us a confidence. And like you said, to when you kind of like, oh my God, I can't do this. When you're working from the vision, you are no longer available for that crap talk, right? You're not available for it because you're there, right? So you got to step into it, and it's going to be something that you do every day. I do this every day. This is why till this day, like I write it over and over again, right? Because I have my days. I get to the next level and it's like, ooh, I go back, but it's the same type of work. So I do this constantly, so that way I'm able to work for my vision, stay in that energy, stay in that consciousness, and be able to just keep going and step into the next level that I envision for myself. So have that vision, crawl, walk, run to start, and work from the vision, from that energy and that consciousness.
I can really tell that you are practicing what you preach on an ongoing basis. And I cannot, like, that's so important. Sometimes it's like, oh, we think that we're going to conquer something. Like, yes, this is done. Like, I have a great mindset now.
Oh,
It's like, no,
it
babe,
is constant work.
something you're going to have to continuously work towards new levels, different devils. That's just the way it
Yep.
goes. So,
Yep.
um, after every single podcast, I feel like I have homework to do. Like I have homework to do. I'm about to start thinking, what does my run look like from here? I might have thought about what my run looked like 5 years ago, but have I thought about it
Mhm.
from this point? So
Yeah.
for those of you who are listening, your homework, in addition to this, is to go find Uchechi and follow her on her socials. Look at her website. Look at her offerings. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, I'm definitely on Instagram. My name Uchechi Ezrike Bosse. I am on my website is myempoweredliving.com. Yeah, Instagram. I'm on YouTube as well. So check me out there.
All of that will be in the show notes because that was fast. So all of that is going to be in the show notes. Please make sure that you follow her on YouTube. It's the consistency for me. I went and, looked at your YouTube channel and all of that. And it's like, I love it when you can see that the consistency is there. And a lot of times you can learn from how consistent people are. You can learn from what they're doing. You can learn from what they're saying. The social media in itself is an offering, and then you get into the next layer and the next layer and the next
Yeah.
layer. So definitely make sure, go and follow her, even if you don't have a business idea yet, even if you're not
You'll
sure.
find it.
And that's how you do it. You want to immerse yourself in that type of inspiration so that your mindset doesn't even have a choice to change. Starts getting brainwashed with positivity from being in those types of spaces. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll be back with you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.